Okay, so we've had a couple speeches in here earlier talk about how they want to work hard. It's like, I gotta succeed in my life, it's all for the future. Gotta sacrifice the now to have a better future that you don't know when it'll happen and when it'll happen. The quote I have by Charlie Chan was, "Waiting for tomorrow, wasted today." And I only agree with this because the specific word, waiting for tomorrow. And I feel like that kind of rings true, and it kind of, like, we've all heard this at some point in a different way. And so today I want to touch on maybe how this is instilled in us, why it's actually so active in our society, and how it kind of, not messes with our heads, but kind of hindered us in a way. And secondly, how appreciating today can even further motivate you for tomorrow. So let me touch on how this is actually in our lives today. How many of you guys have heard, like, you grow up, your parents tell you, work hard, stay in school, study Saturday night, Friday night, Sunday night, and get into UCLA, and you know what, you're going to have 6 figures, and you're going to do great, and you're going to have all the cars, women, men, whatever you want. That's generally what we're told. Like, you need to work hard now when you're young, because it's going to pay off later. And that's kind of mentality it's all brought upon us, especially in America, especially after the 50s, like especially after World War II. It was, you need to have that picket fence, that standard family, like it's all, and it's going to be great. If you work hard, guarantee success. But like that's not always true. And even then, a lot of people get sucked into that and they end up either not where they want to be, they end up not as happy, or you end up regretting, I wish I had done this. I wish I'd done that. For my example, I think it's rings true to me. My parents told me this, and I always wanted to, I want to make money. I want cars and stuff. But I think I didn't realize I was sucked into it until maybe like 2 weeks ago. I have a perfect example. I was like, you know what, I'm going to save up money. I'm working at my job. And my girlfriend hits me up and is like, there's a Black Keys concert at the Seattle Center this weekend. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm not flying up there. I'm not spending that money. And she's like, I got a free ticket. I was like, can you make it? And I'm like, yeah, screw it. I was like, I'm going to do it. So I bought a plane ticket up. I was like, the entire time I'm telling, this is stupid. Like, why am I wasting this money? It's like, it's just one concert. I got there, didn't regret a single second. Greatest concert of my life. Fire in my face, lights. I was gonna like pass out. It was great. Absolutely amazing. And that's when I realized, like, how many other times in my life have I just turned opportunities down because I was like, I can't do that. Like, that's gonna get in the way. Like, I can't go out Sunday night. Like, I have a test tomorrow. Like, it was like, it's not gonna be worth it. And you start to devalue things. You're like, anything that hinders your goal of the future, all of a sudden it's bad. And you start like not appreciating it. And I feel like that's at some point in all of our lives, we've had that moment where you turn something down that you kind of regret that you did. Now to move on, I want to touch on how appreciating the now can also motivate you to work hard. Just because you're working hard and you're studying doesn't mean that like that's your only motivation to like my example was, I struggled, like I switched majors twice, 3 times. I went from English to biochem to art, and I was like, this sucks. So I went back to English, but I was kind of floating. I was like, I don't really like this. And I think I didn't, like, I couldn't think about the future. Like, it just wasn't helping. It just wasn't motivating. What got me back to my English major, what got me back to want to be a professor, to being a teacher, was I work at the Boys and Girls Club. I work with kids. And it was, I'm not supposed to teach these kids, or just babysitters, but like when I was sitting there for that hour a day when I'm helping them and like seeing, like it was this kid, his name is Hui, sweetest little boy. He struggles with math so hard, struggles with English, and when I help him every day and I see light bulb click, I was like, the greatest satisfaction, just the absolute greatest satisfaction. And I was like, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't care if I only make $60,000, $50,000 a year. This is something I could do and not worry about it. I was completely satisfied. And I feel like I wouldn't have gotten that if I just sat in my room reading a book, or if I just sit here lecturing, it's like, work hard. If I heard people tell me, it wouldn't have clicked with me. I had to be in a moment. I had to look at myself in the present and appreciate things around me. And I feel like that is what keeps me motivated today. It keeps me aspiring to get my master's, get my PhD, do what I want with, teach around the world, fulfill my dreams. So, to summarize it, don't just turn things down because you feel like they're going to hinder your future. Don't just turn things down because you feel like it's a waste of time. Give things a shot in the now. Like, even if you think it's crazy, especially if it's crazy, do it. Legally crazy. Legally crazy. And then also, if you just, not all of us are going to click with just the standard. Like, not all of us are the same. A lot of people just, like, you can't just tell someone to think about your future and choose. You need to appreciate the things, you need to find the value in the things today so you can know what you want to find value in the future. Thank you.
All right, Sean, the thesis statement's very clear. There's good preview. The reference to the prior speeches was okay. I still think we could come up with something a little bit more interesting, but it was fine. So the opening is solid. I think you've got a couple of good examples that you talk about. It's because there's a preview, there's a structure that you talk about. That worked well, so that's pretty good. You might be a little bit tighter on a couple of the stories, especially the second one, because that's where you start losing track of time. Your speech was 6.5 minutes, and so you've gone over time quite a bit. And at the end, it sounds a little bit like you're wandering, and so you need to have a little bit tighter focus on what you're talking about. Presentation issues, I think you use your voice effectively. You get humor into the voice. We know that you were kind of responding to the situation because of the way you used your voice, and I thought that provoked a very obvious reaction on the part of the audience. The gestures are usually good indicators. There are a few distracting things. You'll notice when you watch your video that you end up playing with the ties on your hoodie 2 or 3 times during the presentation. That's a little distracting. The eye contact with the audience, this is interesting because it's not exactly like you're looking over our heads while you're speaking, but it doesn't always look like you are engaging people while you're speaking. I think it's part of it might be you're scanning the audience as opposed to talking to the audience. The phrase that I sometimes use with people, you're talking in front of us and not to us. And I know that you look pretty effective while you're speaking there, but sometimes I just feel like it's a performance as opposed to a conversation, and I want to be talked with sometimes, and so that might mean that you have to look people in the eye a little bit more often, hold their gaze a bit for a few seconds, then talk to some other people too. But you're just kind of scanning through the audience. You're not avoiding anybody. I didn't get that feeling. I just got the feeling that you're not engaging with people a bit. And that's a subtle thing. Maybe you won't notice it. I don't know if other people notice it. I'm just telling you how I perceived it. All right. Thank you. I talked.